Hi, my name is Don Cott-Acosta, and I chose to do Dr. Seuss is my person of poet and author this week. Theodore was actually born, he's never really been a doctor. He was born, they called him that because of his mother's ambition for him to become a doctor. He was born Theodore Seuss Gesell on March 2nd, 1904. He grew up in Springfield until he went to England, attending college that he never finished, where he met his wife, Helen Palmer, in 1927. They were married and stayed and moved back to the States. He went on and worked at different places before he became famous. He worked in an oil refinery. He worked making animated films and illustrations before he actually got his big break. He would make war propaganda, handouts and things like that during the war. And that's where people started to notice that he actually had something going on. And he got into children's literature through that. He bought a place in La Jolie, California with his wife. And he would spend most of his days working there, 8 hours a day. And then whatever time he had free, he worked in his garden to make his family food and things like that. Dr. Seuss wasn't always the best person and husband. He had an affair on his wife, and his wife later became ill with cancer, and because of the affair and all the stress in her life, she committed suicide, where he then married the famous Aubrey Stone, who has famous works such as The Lorax and Horton Hears a Who, that also associates with Dr. Seuss. Even after his death, he continued to make many books, 60 over a lifetime. And in 1906, and when he died, even after he dies, he has other art projects that are being launched. And he left behind some really great things for people to still read. In February of 2015, a new book was left, What Poet Should I Get? And they're in the process of going to or have already published that book even after his death. Dr. Seuss is a great person for kids' books. He's a wonderful children's poet. He has very interesting illustrations in his books. I chose to read for you today the Dr. Seuss ABC book. Most of you know it. A lot of us have seen it. My kids love it. Dr. Seuss ABC, a beginner book. Big A, little a, what begins with A? Auntie Anne's alligator, A. Big B, little b, what begins with B? Barber, baby bubbles, and a bumblebee. Big C, little c, what begins with C? Camel on the ceiling, C. Big D, little d, David Donald do, dreamed a dozen donuts and duck dog too. A, B, C, D, E, ear, egg, elephant, E. Big F, little F, 4 fluffy feathers on a fifer, fee for fef. A, B, C, D, E, goat girl, goo goo goggles. Big H, little H, hungry horse, hay, hen in a hat, hooray. Big I, little I, Ichabod is itchy, so am I. Big J, little J, what begins with J? Jerry Jordan's jelly jars and jams begin that way. Big K, little K, kitten, kangaroo, kick a kettle, kite, and a king's kerchoo. Little L, little lollipop, left leg, lazy lion, licks a lollipop. Big M, little M, many mumbling mice are making midnight music in the moonlight, mighty mice. Big N, little N, what begins with these? 9 new neckties and a neck shirt and a nose. Oh, it's so useful. You use it when you see Oscar's only ostrich oil and orange owl today. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Painting pink pajamas, policeman in a pail, Peter Pepper's puppy, and now Papa's in a pail. Big Q, little Q, what begins with Q? The quick Queen of Quincy and her quackling crackaroo. Big R, little r, Rosie, Robin, Ross. Rosie's going riding on her red rhinoceros. Big S, little s, Silly Sammy Slick sipped 6 sodas and got sick, sick, sick. T. What begins with T? 10 turtles on a tuttle tuttle tree. Big U, little U. What begins with U? Uncle Bob's umbrella and his underwear, too. Big V, little B. Vera Violet Vin is very, very, very awful on her violin. W. Willie Wateroo washes Warren Wiggles, who was washing Waldo Woo. X is very useful in the name like Nixie Knox. It also comes in handy spelling axe and extra socks. Big Y, little y. A yawning yellow yak, young Yolanda Jurgensen, is yelling on his back. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Big Z, little z. What begins with Z? I do. I am Zinger Zanger Zux, as you can plainly see. The ABCs by Dr. Seuss. Growing up, Dr. Seuss was always one of my favorite poets. His illustrations were always wonderful to me. I read these to my children today. I think that my favorite one to use in a classroom is the Cat in the Hat, just because there's lots of sight words for kindergarten, first, and second graders who can actually begin to read a book before they even know that they're reading the book, just by going through the sight words. In a class I did this year, I actually did just that. We made an activity where we would take the Cat in the Hat book and pick all the words out that we knew, and we drew an actual Dr. Seuss's hat, and we put the words in them for the Cat in the Hat. And we got to color it, and we got to paint it, and we got to do all the fun things with it, so that we are putting words into our hats that we already knew. And it really did help the kids to understand how to make those words come together for them into sentences and things, other than just seeing letters together in words. The activity was fun. It was cheap. It was easy. It was a printed off a worksheet, and you color it. You then could even make that hat something that you wear, where you put the words on it and you wear the hat saying that, hey, Dr. Seuss taught me these words today. Lots of activities you could do with Dr. Seuss. That was one of my favorites. Red Fish, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish would be another book that you could come up with some activities pretty easy to do with counting. We could make the red fish, the blue fish, and do those things with them as well. Dr. Seuss is one of my all-time favorites. I can't wait to read it to my elementary school kids someday. He's a great man. Even after his death, he continues to live on and make art projects for children, and a well-known person in most people's life. Overall, he was a good person. Couldn't really find any bad information about him. I really enjoyed this project, and I hope that you go find you some Dr. Seuss to read. And thank you.